Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I am your host, as always, Bodio. And with me, I have Kaylie Horowitz.
Hello.
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
Do you remember
the 21st night of September?
Singing across Discord across the country doesn't really work, but you know, we're...
This is a good joke that will totally be relevant on September 28th when this episode comes out.
It's more of the spirit of anything, and that, like, it's a holiday that I have to observe in one way or another.
Have to?
It's a national holiday. No, it's a global holiday.
Earth, Wind, and Fire Day.
Defend yourself.
Okay. All right. You want me to defend myself about this?
I do.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is somehow the most universally loved band. I have never met a single person on the planet that's ever said, you know, I think Earth, Wind, and Fire, I think they're okay. No. If you've heard of Earth, Wind, and Fire, you love Earth, Wind, and Fire. And September is the ultimate feel-good song. Justin Timberlake can go fuck himself. KC and the Sunshine Band can go fuck themselves. Earth, Wind, and Fire accomplished the greatest feel-good song of all time in, like, 1973. So stop even trying. It's the 21st night of September, and I will always remember
Name another Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Boogie Wonderland, In the Stone, Star. There's an entire album that I love called I Am. It is just absolutely spectacular.
It really is that, like, my God, they did just sort of dominate the disco genre.
Yeah, because you know what? They lied to you, man. Disco's amazing, and it always has been.
I thought you meant Earth, Wind, and Fire lied to me. I was like, wait, what? No!
No, Earth, Wind, and Fire would never lie to me, except for the fact that, you know, there was a fourth element called rain, and they've just kind of, like, buried that in the backyard, but whatever, who cares? You know.
Mysterious circumstances.
You know challenge offered and dominated. I have nothing else to say.
Sometimes you just gotta get me in the zone right there on the holiest of holy days. My power is at its critical level.
There's empirical evidence to prove what you just said.
And none of it was based in opinion whatsoever. It was all objective. All
actual factual.
Very unrelated to, like, the actual, like, song or Earth, Wind, and Fire.
What about the factual song?
Every time this day comes around, I'm always like vibing,
Once
like, yeah, it's September. Except there is a specific line in a play by Stephen Adly Guirgis called Between Riverside and Crazy.
Shout out to that person Kaylie just said.
It's about, like, a New York cop, like, on the edge of retirement, pursuing case, like lots of complex moral issues, like he's a black man on the force, lots of complex issues kind of things, and his son is kind of a jackass but also a, like, I love you dad but just Jesus Christ stop with his bullshit kind of character. Sure. But his dad's trying to get him to go out and do shit, and then like get out of here, get out of the apartment, go just like be your own person. Stop getting caught up in my business. And he's like, I bought him tickets to go see Earth, Wind, and Fire. I want you to take your ass. Like, it's this one line that comes back to me every September 21st now since I was on crew for this show where Pops goes, go see Earth, Wind, and motherfucking Fire.
My parents took that advice because I bought them tickets to go see them for Christmas, like,
that's right,
last year, and they were fantastic. A bunch of, like, 70-year-old guys on July 4th, the hottest day of the year, and they fucking killed it. They were amazing. That'll be a fun show. And not only that,
I would love to go to one of their shows. It sounds like a fantastic time.
Is it true that our high school band director once, like, paused the entire plans of a trip because Earth, Wind, and Fire was playing at Universal Studios and it wasn't on the itinerary before?
I wasn't on that band trip, so I cannot confirm nor deny that, but it sounds funny, so I'm going to confirm it.
I believe the fact was that they went to Universal Studios, and without his knowledge, his favorite band was playing, and he put like 300 kids' travel plans on hiatus to go back to like the hotel or whatever. And it was just like, no. Earth, Wind, and Fire. And just threw off all of the itinerary.
Shout outs to Dr. Rusty Logan. That dude rules.
King.
Do we know it happened? Maybe, maybe not. But does it sound like something that this man would do?
It does.
100%. Like,
my favorite Doc story is this was my senior year. For some reason in Auburn High, once you became a senior, they just let you do literally whatever the fuck you wanted.
There's no rules.
If they still do it, I'm sure it's as much of a problem as it was for me like 10 years ago. But we're sitting in the band room, and there's 5 of us in there just like smoking and joking, hanging out. And my friend Christian just like gets up like he's just been inspired. Like, I have an idea.
Divine inspiration.
Not divine, because he says, everybody give me $5. I'm going to Taco Bell. So we're like, what? He's like, everybody give me $5. I'm going to Taco Bell. What do you want? I'm like, okay, cool. Just get a Taco 12 or whatever.
It was only like 2 streets away technically, but long enough that it'd be risky.
Long enough to where he had to walk to the other side of our high school campus, get in his truck, drive it back across the front of the school, and then, repeat the process. Second time. The second time with many bags of Taco Bell in his hands.
Yeah.
But, he gets up and he walks out of the band room, the door shut, only for them to immediately open again. Christian storms back in the room, knocks on Doc's door. He says, Doc, I'm going to Taco Bell. And Doc creaks open his door. He says, bring me a quesadilla. And then just closed it back.
This was the man that allowed us to organize the sport known as nutball whenever we weren't doing anything.
I'm scared to ask on so many levels.
It's pretty obvious.
Not just as a guy thing, but as a band kid thing.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. I think he truly is a man that thrives in letting the kids get all of their dumbass energy out and then being like, all right, let's play some music.
Right. Yeah. That's reasonable though.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'm a fucking hero, man. He was a good dude.
Shout out
he
to
was
that
a very
man.
good dude.
Shout out to that man. Constant listener to the liberal artists, Dr. Rusty Logan.
Yeah.
Our 10th through 12th band director.
That would be sick.
If Doc listens to this podcast, I am going to absolutely lose my mind in happiness.
He was one of, in a sincere moment, he was, I think, the first adult figure in my life to tell me he trusted me. And that sincerely means a lot.
That hits,
I was 17. We were in Washington, D.C. And I had just jumped over a group of kids because it was a thing to do. And we were like, hey, Doc, we're going to go over here. Is that cool? He's like, yeah, I trust you. And I know it didn't mean anything to him, but it meant a lot to me at the time.
And then you just flew over a pack of children.
Basically.
He was just on cloud 9. He was literally levitating where he's been
Doc
powered
believes
up.
in me.
Also, many fun facts for the lore of the podcast.
Lore.
That trip was basically the first time that Bo and I started becoming close friends when I was a shitty little 15-year-old freshman.
That is the
in
first.
high school.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Because I knew you, but we didn't really interact much before then.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
I never thought about that.
Is there anything of a because I know the rule about band camp, band trips, you don't talk about it. What happens at band camp stays at band camp.
There was no instrument stuck up genitalia during our band camps. It was just hot outside of the school for 6 hours.
I don't know. One of the trombones once took the slide and speared me right between the butt cheeks with it when we were marching one time. So I don't know if you're accurate about that.
Why does that not surprise
Yeah,
me?
it's the trombones, and no disrespect to known trombonist Dr. Rusty Logan, but every other trombone I've ever known is a jackass. In a good way, most of the time.
They're kind of jerks.
He says with a heavy disclaimer.
Heavy disclaimer.
The only like funny story I could think of. It's not even that funny unless you were there. You're running around DC.
There.
You're running around DC. There's like street peddlers, right? Especially in the touristy areas.
Yeah.
And there was this one guy who had these fake ass plastic aviators that he was selling for like $6.
Yeah.
So of course, a group of like 100 band nerds were like, "Oh my god, we all need aviators."
Yes.
So
excellent.
And we also bought some for Doc. He wore them, of course. He did, because he's cool as shit.
Cool as hell. Doesn't even try.
Gibby, you're acting like you weren't part of this. You were deliberately part of this situation.
Gibby was leading the aviators charge.
He wasn't leading. He was a freshman.
Yeah, I was a freshman. I was there to stand awkwardly and reckon with hormones coursing through my body and changing me.
But yeah, hard cut to like 40 odd band nerds strolling up hot into the Hard Rock Cafe with bright silver aviators, ages 18 to 16. Felt real cool that day.
Yeah.
Wait, when did y'all go on that trip?
2011.
So that was... Oh, no, that was a year after I went to DC, and I almost got left behind at that Hard Rock Cafe.
The Hard Rock Cafe is where memories are
My
made.
trip to DC was in 8th grade and included 2 separate instances where I almost got left behind by my school group.
Good job.
That's incredible.
One at the Hard Rock Cafe. I think this was on the same day of the trip. I don't remember now if it was the same day or if it was like one day and then the next. But one happened at the Hard Rock where I went to the bathroom and then everyone at the like 2-3 tables put together was gone. And the other happened at the National Archives where I was actually like, wow, that is the Declaration of Independence, and like taking it in. And then I turned around and everybody in my entire school, like class group, gone.
You belong to the archive now.
I texted my dad after I like walked through the rest of the tunnel and found everybody like basically on the bus. I texted my dad about it and he went, no national treasure. Stop that. The Hard Rock Cafe one was a little bit riskier though, because like I had gone to the bathroom. I came back out. They were all gone. I went back outside. They were all loaded on the bus, but I think they had an issue with the tires on the bus, so they couldn't go anywhere. That I was like, okay, great. So y'all would have left a 14-year-old, like, naive, clueless Floridian by themselves. Like, none of the chaperones are doing a head count? What the hell?
How do you lose a Kaylie? Like,
yeah.
Simplifying it, how do you lose a ginger in the crowd? That's an easy head count to do.
Part of me's conspiracy theory, middle schooler me, was like, they're trying to get rid of me. Because none of my friends went on that trip. I was there to go for the vibes. And none of my friends could go, but I was like, I'm going on this class trip because I've never been to DC and I want to see cherry blossoms. And we just kind of missed the cherry blossoms. Like, it wasn't...
Those things only bloom for like a day.
And I think we were like a little too early. Like, it should have been when they started, but not quite. So it was that like, well, fine, but I'm gonna go anyways. And I keep feeling like they're trying to leave me behind. I
have a brief story to tell about the DC band trip that involves both that I find funny.
That involves me.
Oh.
Yeah. We were on a cruise on the Potomac River because that's what you do. And we were standing outside of the bathrooms. Bo, the wise to the world senior, me, the naive child who is freakishly tall, he says, "Hey, Gibby, look at that," pointing to a spot on the ground. I see a piece of gold foil and assume, hey, that's probably a Milky Way or something. I know that color of gold foil. He says,
why would
Gibby,
you pick it up?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It's not that bad. He said, he said to me with all the earnestness in the world, Gibby, do you know what that is? And I said, or something to that equivalent. And he said, "That's a condom." And my worldview changed in that instant. I went from being a child of freakishly tall size to being an average-sized adult in an instant.
As soon as you said, I thought it was a Milky Way, I'm like, oh no, I know where this is going.
No, even
at least I hope I know
me,
where it's going and it's not something worse.
Even me at 18 would have been wise enough to be like, I'm not gonna make somebody pick up an open condom. That's awful.
Because you're a good person, you didn't go, look, it's a Milky Way.
Yeah, that would have been.
Ooh.
That's a level of tomfoolery that I don't subscribe
I don't
to.
abide by.
We have some
No.
dignity within us. We have some compassion, even as teenage boys, the least empathetic people in the world.
That's true.
It's true.
Ugh.
All right.
Yeah.
But, we've spent a lot of time reminiscing.
About DC of all things.
Sits in chair backwards, throws the sweater over my shoulder. We have a lot of fun here.
Wow.
You're not going to
But-
teach me Spanish, Mr. P.
No, I'm imagining the Captain America. So, you wanted to come out here and have some fun.
We spent a lot of time reminiscing, getting comfortable, comfortable. My mother's not from here. My English is weird sometimes.
Comf.
So let's talk about comfort media. Kaylie, this was your idea. I'm sure TikTok has something to do with it.
It does more or less just in the like kind of rapid accumulation of like look
Fucking
how much you can
nailed it.
see in a short amount of time. But also I think these ideas don't come from TikTok. They come from other spaces like Tumblr, like Instagram.
So much better. So much better. You're batting
So,
zero
I mean,
right now, fam.
Sure. It's internet shit, but
Mhm.
there've been, I think partly the reason that I've been seeing this more through TikTok is that there's so many game developers tracking the progress of their game and sharing updates and a lot of like very insightful game development content or commentary in the space. And one of the things that kind of came up on my radar was that in fall, like in this time of year especially, when you're thinking of either seasonal games,
Yeah.
fall is almost always tethered either to something scary, spooky, like you're going for the like, ooh, it's dark and mysterious and cold,
Mm-hmm.
We love it.
or it is autumn and it is cozy and warm. Like there's a sense of warmth in the tasks or the objective of the game that you are playing through,
Right.
coupled with a sense of change. Like seasons are changing, but it's also nostalgic, and it's like those factors of time and of course how you choose to represent those environmental pieces aesthetically play a lot into how people may or may not feel about your game. But there's an abundance of like cozy fall games,
Mhm.
and it's just been a like, yeah, we do. Like I think we've talked about Over the Garden Wall a year ago,
Yeah.
which if you're expecting an episode on that, we've already done it. Go listen, go look in the backlogs,
Tell him.
sift through our content, fools.
Tell him.
But I feel like games are a really interesting space of where we have a kind of abundance, and they're mostly casual games. Cozy games are like they're designed to be accessible in some ways, but it feels like there's an abundance of these different kind of simulators or task manager games set in this environment, and less like
There's 100,000
like
Farmvilles,
filmed media.
Animal Crossing.
yeah.
Stardew Valley.
But like Over the Garden Wall is the only like major like comfort fall like series that I can think of that's not deliberately Halloween. That I was just sort of curious and like thinking and not really coming up with much of an answer, but like, yeah, we're sticking this with a lot of games, but it's a little bit harder to, or like not as narratively satisfying in some ways to do it with like movies or series.
I think
don't
you also
know.
have the issue of at the front end of fall, is, or not even at the front end of fall, kind of in the middle of fall, is Halloween.
Right.
So by the time,
which is a very exciting thing to
Halloween
after.
Rules,
Oh, we
but
love it.
Halloween at the front end of fall absorbs all of the oxygen, at least in television and movies and stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is when all the scary movies, all the horror themed stuff starts to come out right around this week, in September, and then after that, Christmas has expanded. Christmas has ballooned obscenely, so to the point you hit November for. Honestly, I've seen Christmas stuff out in October 28th.
The weird ornaments are already popping up in
Michaels
every craft
and Neiman
store.
Marcus can go fuck themselves. I'm making a lot of enemies this podcast. JT and Michaels are gonna get me.
Let them know. But I guess my question for y'all is: there's stuff outside of specifically. So first off, what are you seeking when you go into quote comfort media, right? What are you trying to put on? And second off, is there stuff not specifically even fall related that you shoot for?
Oh, 1000%. And I discovered my new comfort show in a very tumultuous time of my life of hey, you have a new job. It starts in 2 weeks. Figure your shit out quickly. So in traveling from Michigan to Maryland and trying to find a place and trying to buy a bunch of new clothes and everything and just running around everywhere, I found a little program that started on the Hallmark Channel every night at 8 o'clock and ran to about midnight or so. And it's a little show by the name of Golden Girls.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is
You've always liked that show. Though.
I'm surprised you already haven't been watching the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Well, I have.
That feels like such a Gibby show.
You've definitely gone through it before.
Yeah, I definitely liked it, but this is my first time really sitting down and watching a lot of episodes back to back. I feel like there's a difference in throwing on an episode once in a while versus for a solid 2 weeks living in hotels and bouncing around and everything. I was just it's 8 o'clock. It's Golden Girls time.
Right.
Bring back my girls. And I think
they're all super dead by now.
Yeah, rest in peace to all of them. But I think what really gets me is that it's almost like a sitcom that kind of tricks you into forgetting that it's a sitcom because it is an episodic show. But it's got so much wit and heart to it that it's never overly saccharine like your average thing. If something's way too sweet, you can't consume too much of it in a short period of time. There's so much more sass to it and a little bit of snarkiness here and there that makes it just so easily consumable and digestible. It's that there's going to be a problem that gets resolved by the end of it and everything, unless it's a crazy 2-parter or something.
Whoa!
Yeah, but I think there's something just so familiar in the banter of that show that it just reminds me so much of how all of us talk to each other that it just feels like something that almost was made for me and not 70-year-old ladies back in the Reagan years.
This for me? Is for me?
Yeah, it's something about the fact that it's got a very familiar format to it and it's warm and inviting, but it's not so wholesome to the point of it being overwhelming that it's just something I can get into a rhythm to so easily. And I think that's what I look for in comfort media. For me, good old comfort food of TV and movies and games and stuff, it's one of two categories. It's the familiar and predictable because of the structure, a thing like Golden Girls, or familiar and predictable because I've already experienced it. Like, that covers more of my things. Like, if I'm replaying a video game, it's because I really like it and I know what's going to happen and it relaxes me into everything. Like, my example for that is I've probably played through Paper Mario, the original for the N64, like a good 5+ times, like front to back, just across the years. Because it's like, I know how this rolls. I know how this works. It's relaxing enough because guess what? It's made for 10-year-olds in 1997. Like,
so when the new one comes out, Gibby's gonna be real stressed.
It's not a new one. It's a remake of the second one.
Well, okay.
It's gonna stress me out because it's harder than the original. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
This is not made for babies anymore.
No.
Ah!
Oh God, they made it for E10 and up, not E for everyone. It's too much of a learning curve to get onto. But like that predictability of like, I've seen this, I've done this. It's very comforting, and like I think that's kind of a universal feeling, especially for a lot of folks on the internet.
What about you, Kaylie?
I have a difficult time, I think, staying to specific comfort media.
Yeah.
Because I think
Therefore you am.
Therefore you be.
dangerous. No, I think in my own sort of weird sorting and categorization of these things, there's comfort media. There's the concept of like things that you come back to because they're nostalgic. They remind you of specific places, times, people, who you were, whatever. But then cozy media channels some of the same feelings without being super specific.
What do you mean?
Like it'll give you some of those vibes of feeling homey, feeling relaxed, feeling like a kid again, feeling like you're in a very specific place, even if it's not like something in the content is necessarily the like anchor point for you, but something about the vibes, I guess, to put it, for lack of a better word, kind of get you halfway there with comfort. And it's like that. It's a Venn diagram. I look at it as kind of some of the same, but there's a difference. Because if I had to think of like specific comfort media for myself, that would be like I love watching and rewatching Atlantis: The Lost Empire. However, I don't think I'm always like, when I'm just looking for like when you're looking for something to just like put on and you already have like a go-to show to do, that's not how I approach like that movie. That's I don't mind watching something familiar, so let's just watch this. But I seek that out versus you've got something that you can come to whenever and however you need.
Do you think social media kind of takes that place for you?
Kind of, but I think it's more of in the, I've found an interest in the cozy vibes. Like there are times that I will go to something for comfort, but I think I prefer the like, what I find cozy is either like loop of music from a specific thing that I'm reminiscing, and I think that leans closer to the comfort media side. Like I've found several different kinds of playlists of Animal Crossing music that span through the different specific games, and I go, oh, I'm back. But more of the cozy side of things, I'm clearly a sucker for like video essay YouTube content.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
And so some of that is more what I'd call cozy, where it's the like, that's what I call
that's
cozy.
what I call cozy. Coming this summer. It's just ASMR.
Those were two different thoughts crashing into one another at the same time. I'm so sorry. But that'll be hey, here's something that's been recommended for me, and I like this person, or I like their topics, and we'll go with that even if I have no familiarity with them, but like I'm not necessarily engaged with it the same way I would be like watching a new series on Netflix that I've never seen and am invested in. But what we're discussing is familiar enough to me, even if I don't know what this content is, what this argument is, that it lands kind of in that cozy camp of like, this is what I wanted to have going in the background. I'm feeling comfortable. I'm either just working on something and listening to it, or I'm sitting my phone on the table while I'm getting some work done around the house and having that happen. But it's less of a, here are the 10 things that I watch again and again and again and again. And these are my comfort things, and I can't survive without these things. Because I did think I had that phase when I was younger. Like, I know as a kid, The Lion King 2 was like the movie that I would watch on repeat.
Why 2?
Because the first one wasn't out on VHS yet, and then when it
What
was...
do you mean not out on VHS yet? That movie's older than you.
They put it in the vault, Bo.
They put it in the vault. Yeah, and they weren't going to release it right away. Like when Gibby and I were born, they were still like working through the backlog. They were not interested in putting their like hottest movie, like at that point. Again, we're working through the Renaissance. They weren't going to put that out there until like a decade later, basically.
Goofy was just in front of the vault with like a loaded shotgun, just like, I wish a motherfucker would.
No, they locked Lion King in the vault, so my dad just gave me Lion King 2 one time at Blockbuster, and I was enthralled, and then finally the first one came out, and my parents were like, there's a first one, right? And I was mind blown, and then that became the thing that we would rent ad nauseum whenever we went to Blockbuster.
It is
so
wild
much
to me
that when the English one was not there, they put me in front of the Spanish version, and I did not care.
It is so wild to me that you watched Lion King 2 before The Lion King.
I don't remember it. Like, I was young enough that's like, I don't remember ever having watched it out of order, but like, I did.
This just sounds like people who watch Star Wars out of order intentionally. Like, it's just like, man, you haven't experienced The Lion King if you don't watch Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, in front of the other one. It's kind of like the Empire Strikes Back of the Lion King franchise, but don't even bother with Lion King 1.5. That's like the Star Wars, the Clone Wars of
How
it.
dare you?
I forgot it had a subtitle.
But frankly, the extended series on Disney Junior, pretty primo stuff, dude.
I hate every word that just came out of your mouth.
Honestly, in a weird kind of twist of, I think this is why comfort media like is a concept that makes sense to me, but I also have issue like relating to personally sometimes, is that so much of my growing up felt very strange because it was Florida. And also, like, Disney
and
was
you
a very
watched
big
Lion
part.
King 2 before you watched Lion King.
It was all downhill
but
from there.
Disney was a very big part of my childhood.
Sure.
And, like, I knew those parks, man. I knew all of those parks very well. That over the course of the years, as things would change, it would become less and less familiar. But finding content on YouTube like Defunct Land, his entire MO is digging into the history of these places that largely lands between the 90s through the late 2000s. I'm like, this is it. It's not comfort media because I'm not like rewatching this content, but what we're talking about, I'm there. I am absolutely here with you as we're diving through the history of who wrote the 4-note melody for the Disney Channel theme, for like remembering the efficiency of the Disney Fast Pass system. Like, it's a very strange experience for myself.
like it's kind of like moving from kid cuisine as a child to like full on like hors d'oeuvres and charcuterie as an adult.
I was realizing that you could just make an adult Lunchables with a charcuterie board.
It's the same thing, but so well cultivated and like put together that it's like a completely different experience, but it's familiar enough that you're like, I eat this with my fingers.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, just elevated.
Versus there are people that go to just like the brand thing, like Disney, no matter what, is always a comfort thing for them. And it's a hit or miss
dummies
for
that
me.
have made all the Disney quote live action remakes successful.
Those fucking bastards.
But it's like
Only 3 of them are good, and I won't elaborate on which. Ha!
Fair.
That's a Pandora's box. That's a Disney vault we don't need to crack it.
Yeah,
That's
no, that sucker's locked, dude. I think that's one of the big things, right? Nostalgia is a hell of a drug,
Yeah.
and
It is.
it's one of those things. You experience this as a child or in a formative time, and going back to it, I have played and have subsequently. How do I say that word? Subsequently. Fuck you. I run a podcast. Subsequently, replayed a lot of mid to bad games.
Right.
Oh, tell me
Just
about
because-
the 7.0 out of 10, baby.
Dude, 6.5s. Like I caught myself because work has been hard and I felt bad.
Yeah.
I caught myself. I bought Dragon Age Origins for
Ah.
$5 on Steam. Dragon Age Origins is a shit game, but the story like blew my mind as like an 18-year-old, and I was like,
Whoa.
right.
Uh,
And so I'm literally replaying it, having it crash on my computer, blow up everything, mess with all my resolution just because it's like familiar to me, right?
All our food
Oh, yes.
keeps blowing up.
I wonder, I want to take this to a different angle in the same vein of come from take it to the court. In the same vein, especially because we talk about comfort media and we're talking about stuff that's nostalgic.
yes.
I remember like 2 years ago, y'all opened me to the concept of death of the author.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about big pieces of quote comfort media that for some reason still make a stupid amount of money, I think it's impossible not to talk about Harry Potter, right? Right.
Oh, buddy, we were having such a good time.
Right, and I want to
Having a
challenge. I want to
good
challenge
time.
all of us, right? Because we're all of the same mind
Yeah.
when it comes
Yeah.
to.
She who must not be named.
I wonder
Mm.
how do you all approach like not that stuff specifically. I've done a pretty good job of cutting it
Yeah.
out, but like
Yeah.
when people still approach those kinds of things, right? Like, why do you think people still approach that source, and all of its like its ecosystem, you know?
Well, like I heard a quote about like media and how it gets, absorbed frequently by bigger and bigger corporations and the bigger fish in the shitty sea, and that eventually everything you like is basically fucked.
Yeah.
And at some point or another, it gets to a point where something problematic or unethical results out of it because it's bigger than it ever was, and shitty people will use a big IP to do shitty things, such as Beishe Bowling, she who's a piece of shit. And it's tough. It's a tough gambit to run because it's very easy to say like, hey, it's being used for bad purposes. You got to drop it right now. But like you said, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and that is a tough habit to kick. I very easily kicked all the Harry Potter stuff to the curb because I was never really like into it as a kid.
Which is surprising, but like fair.
I faked it because I looked like Harry Potter as a kid, and I just wanted to feel included.
I have to play my part.
I was just like, well, this is the lot I've been given in life. Here we go. But
Me looking like the eternal lost Weasley sibling.
like the tougher part is when it's something that like I love And like Bo has said many times in many conversations, fuck Nintendo.
Fuck Nintendo.
That's hard. That it's harder for me to say, like, in which, like, I agree with you. Their corporate policies are absolutely terrible, but damn it, if they don't get me like hooked back on that sweet nostalgia drug the moment they start promising Paper Mario Thousand
I
Year
was about
Door
to say Paper Mario.
Like y'all know Mario. Y'all like Mario, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at the lawsuits and how we ruined somebody's life all because he was modding Switches. He's in debt. He's 55 and in debt for the rest of it. Has to give up 3/4 of his paychecks for the rest of his life. This is real. I'm not making this up. But here's the new Zelda game. I like Zelda.
And they fucking got me, man. Because
I know Gibby likes that game.
Yeah, and I was just like, well, I can't miss it. I've been waiting on this game for 5 years, and it's like
being privy
and I fucked up.
on accident to a hit in an alley, and instead of like offing you, they just offer you just a really nice little mystery box, and they tell you to just go back inside, and you just keep wandering back out.
Here's a Snickers. Walk away.
Here's a Milky Way.
I just love the fact that, like, instead of saying, like, they give you a bribe or, like, a favor, there's just a gangster with a mystery box that's been, like...
You don't know what you're gonna get, because you could come back and be like, this was garbage, what did you give me? Or,
hey,
this was
kid,
really great.
You can either have $100 or you can have... what's in the box?
Box. I picked the box.
It's like I could really use.
I'm not losing $100, but I could be getting something more exciting with the box.
It's such a fucking tough thing when like the thing that has such like a central and core meaning to you, like core memory unlocked, becomes an unethical thing, either in hindsight or in the present. And like, I know there's like an easy path when it's not something that like is meaningful to you to just be like, just drop it. Who fucking cares? It's a thing. But like when that's ingrained in your head, it's tough to drop. Like if I found out tomorrow that like Griffin McElroy is an international drug lord or something, I still might have a little bit tough of a time dropping the Adventure Zone because it matters so much to me. Yeah. Like if I find out that like, I don't know, like the creators of Over the Garden Wall have been part of like...
They were Sound of Music era Nazis the entire time.
No. If they were like part of Nestle's board of directors funneling water out of the Great Lakes, I would just be like, what the fuck are you doing? How fucking dare you make your songs catchy and make even 1% of me not want to drop your stuff? You fucking bastards. Like nostalgia and comfort like digs in, because if you give that up, what's left? You have to go find something else that's going to be core to your existence as a media consumer.
It does like tickle me in some ways. Like the anthropology class that I took in my master's was about memory and commemoration, but we of course had to dig into some of Freud's nonsense for a little bit. But like really the overall consensus from the like mid 1800s through the mid-century, I maybe we were loosening up by like the end of World War I sort of thing. Nostalgia was a like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why you miss when you were young and life was simpler, or like you miss things that you clearly can't get back? What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. You miss not having to pay taxes or utilities? What the hell is your problem?
No, like the concept of nostalgia was such a medically like, something is not okay with you if you are going on and on about like feeling a mournful, lamentful like sense about the past as a concept.
And then the advertisers came in.
Right, and then it's so wild that in the last 70 years we have like fully doubled down on a culture that exists on remember the past.
Right.
Always.
Even so much
constantly.
So that, you can see it now. We're finally getting to the age where, oh God, they're trying to make remakes to bait us into taking our kids into watching shit.
Yep.
Like, why
Oh
the fuck are
God,
they
NSYNC is getting back together.
Yeah, NSYNC is getting Blink 182 got back together. My Chemical Romance got back together. They made a Ninja Turtles movie again.
I heard it was good. I heard it was really good.
See, they already got you. They got the hooks in you already.
No, they'd like. I mean, okay, maybe a little bit of yes, a little bit of no. I will say, is it nostalgia? Like, and partly the answer is yes, because it's the same property, clearly.
Yeah.
But when you're actually like, hey, we're making a Ninja Turtles movie, but we're doing a fun new style, and we are actually going in a different casting direction that has not been done before, where they are actual like teenagers. Which I feel like changes the dynamic of what you know in a way that's like, this is justifiable. Is it still a remake? Is it still nostalgia bait? Yes.
Yes. 100% yes. I'm not going to say I don't know. I think I think people would just really rather live in their familiarity, right?
Yeah.
As opposed, because finding new stuff is so hard, especially after you already have all of those experiences. It's so much easier just to go back to what you recognize over and over again, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in this context.
Right.
Right. But I just wonder, how do we, because we glossed over it, but we never really got there. How do we parse that with with our morals? Like, why am I running around it?
What is the past?
Like how do we parse that with
morals?
She who must not be named sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't like how she talks about trans people, specifically trans women.
Yeah.
But like, it makes me sad that product is still $1 billion. People still gain a lot of joy from that, and it's not my right to take it away from them.
Yeah.
But I also wish they would stop. You know what I mean?
You can't claim death of the author when she's actively making billions of dollars. I don't think there's any like perfect solution to convince millions, if not billions, of people to be able to let go of a thing, because
start publishing dreary fic. There you go.
You know, we're not going to explore that theory any further. But thank you for your
Okay, fine.
contributions.
I've laid my offer on the table.
I think it's something that like will eventually die down more, because not because like of disdain for the actual stories and the media. Like our friend was trying to convince us of being like, actually Harry Potter isn't very good fantasy whatsoever, and it's just like, okay, all right, it's a decently told story with a like fairly well put together world. That's not the issue. I think where it will eventually die down is with more people who have the reasonable take of, hey, don't be shitty to trans people. I think eventually that will like cause more people to drop it or like never start it in total. Like eventually. Probably not
the very
soon,
least,
but eventually.
Yeah. I think at the very least, I would love to see that franchise in particular, because like I feel like this is something that kind of runs as a common thread through Author is Dead, IPs, stories, things like that, where at a certain point, the world in which was being written or created overcomes everything else about that work. And it is up to the community of people who either grew up with it or fell into it or however to guide new folks in and show them how we do things here. Like, it's everyone's a different table at the club fair, and here's how we do things. That, you know, Conan Doyle has been gone for a long time, but boy, have there sure been a lot of different ways in which people have played with the characters of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, or the world, the Victorian London that he inhabited in their own, like, ideas, canons, stories, whatever. And I don't necessarily know how that side of the literature community exists on its own outside of just like, this is how we write fan fiction, hurdy-durdy-dur. But I think for something that grew up with the ability to become a phenomenon in the scale that Harry Potter was, I can only hope that it is a community cultivated. We don't buy new. We share collectively with one another the books, the materials, the fandom. We create our own merch because we have all latched on so strongly to the story, but more importantly to the world that was given to us.
How many years do we have before Harry Potter goes public domain?
Forever.
It never will.
That's the real problem with making new nostalgia, is that copyright makes it so hard to let things like settle out in such a way that it could ever become a collective like that amongst fans, because somebody will always be holding the hose and keeping it from opening.
Keeping it draining. Get ready in 5 years for the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie remake with Daniel Radcliffe playing Severus Snape, because ooh.
I love that man. I hope no matter how much money they give him, he does not go back to that franchise.
Look, there's a collective of guys who were in fantasy, like, epics in the 2000s who have taken their money, ran, and just do experimental weird shit now. Like Daniel Radcliffe, Elijah Wood, and Robert Pattinson are just like, I'm a do me now.
I need all three of them in a movie together about like being weird guys that do weird shit in indie movies.
Well, you basically already had that. Like, I mean, Daniel Radcliffe was Weird Al Yankovic, for goodness sake, in a movie called Weird.
Well, yeah, but like, I need all of them in the same movie. I need their combined energy of being just weird little guys in one film.
I don't know. Does that all cancel like each other out at a point, or does one emerge as the weirdest?
It enhances. There's a great Tumblr post.
It's additive, not multiplicative.
Yeah, there was the Tumblr post years ago about like, I need a movie about an anime convention or like Comic-Con in which Daniel Radcliffe plays Elijah Wood and Elijah Wood plays Daniel Radcliffe.
It would
like
make
for some
$3 at the box office.
Who would watch that?
That sounds more like a sketch from like Conan's Late Night than an actual feature film.
I mean, all I can tell you is it's Tumblr. That's not gonna stop it. But
and on that note, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast.
Didn't feel like we really answered any questions.
Nope.
We talked about things.
Kind of really difficult to answer big questions about billion-dollar properties and ethical conundrums that come up with them when they're part of your core essence. But there you go.
Yeah.
Golden Girls, it's the answer.
Golden Girls, there's the answer. It's Golden Girls. It was Golden Girls the whole time.
It was Golden Girls all along.
All along.
It was always Golden Girls.
Thank you so much for listening. Please follow us on our soldiers. Oh, God.
Yeah, we support the troops.
On our socials.
Our podcast troops.
At LibArtistPod on Instagram. We don't talk about the other one. But, you know, if you find it, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Join us next time when we erase Harry Potter from the world's memory. Like that one Beatles movie. So like an Indian guy has to come with a guitar and start singing about Harry Potter.
He just starts waving a wand everywhere like Expelliarmus and becomes the world's greatest writer.
But then we just reinstigate the Salem witch trials. It gets out of hand real fast.
It's a high concept movie. Daniel Radcliffe plays Elijah Wood. It's wild.
Whoa.
Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodio, Kaylie Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to Whitehot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
Wait, son of a gun, epilogue time. Bo, what's
Hi.
your comfort media?
That's right. You didn't say.
Is it
Hey,
Full Metal Alchemist?
Probably. I said I've been playing Dragon Age Origins. Is this like
We need
is this
more,
like a
damn it.
is this like a pop quiz?
Yes.
Did I
Yes.
die? What's
Yes.
happening?
Pop quiz. Answer now, or you'll have to go to detention.
Give me detention, damn you.
That's how that works.
That is my comfort media.
My comfort media is the dungeon. Put me in it.